everybody, this is Brittany with the Homestead Trail. In today's video we are going to show you our setup for our feeder pigs. This was a requested video and this is our third batch of pigs that we have raised in this pen over the course of the past 4 years. So we're going to show you how we have everything set up, what kind of feeder and water we have, and our shelter that we built for them. As always guys, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so there's lots of different ways that you can raise pigs, but this is the same setup we've had for the past 4 years and we haven't had any major problems or felt like we really needed to change anything. And so this has worked out pretty well for us. So we're going to give you kind of a tour and show you how we have everything set up, and let's get started. Alright, so we will start with just a general overview of everything. Here's kind of the back area. You can see that the layout of the pen is pretty irregular, and there's a reason for that. One, we have our driveway along this side, so we had to kind of curve around that. But these telephone poles that were used as fence posts, they were here when we bought this property. So we decided just to go ahead and go with them. It wouldn't have made any sense for us to have taken them down and then just rebuilt when they were already here. And this was one of the very first projects we did after we bought our house. So we were extra broke then, and so a lot of the stuff you'll see was repurposed. So like these fence posts all along here, these are landscape timbers. These were taken out of a couple of raised beds that the previous owners had that we just didn't like the location of. So we took them down and we took the best ones and we turned those into fence posts. And they've actually worked out really well. We were a little bit afraid that they wouldn't be able to hold up whenever the pigs were like 300 pounds, but they have not broken any. And actually I think it was about a month ago, we saw Lowe's had these on sale for $2 a piece. So that is a cheap fence post if you're looking for something inexpensive. And you'll notice this area is much more grassy. They've only been on this section for a couple of days. And that is because we use hog panels. These are just the cheapo ones that they sell at TSC. I think they're like $18 a piece. And whenever we first got these pigs, which they're over there eating up the rest of those cinnamon rolls I gave them. When we first got those guys, probably close to a month ago, they were small enough to be able to fit through these hog panel sections here. This is actually our second batch of pigs that did that. You'd think that we would have learned, but we did not. We looked at the pigs. They were probably 30 or 40 pounds at that time. And we're like, they probably won't be able to fit through there. Nope, they sure did. Took them about 20 minutes and they hopped right through. So what we ended up doing was we sectioned off this area over here, which you can see is now all dirt. And we put all-purpose netting on the inside of the hog panels and just blocked them off into a smaller area until they were fat enough to where they couldn't fit through those spots anymore. Here we've got their mud hole, which I have not filled up yet, but a couple times a day I'll fill that area up. We had to put a board down here because the previous pigs had rooted clear underneath that, and we were afraid they were going to get out underneath it, so we just added a board there. We've only had adult-sized pigs escape once, and that was back here, and you can see we had to add this metal T-post there. The reason why they escaped was because this hog panel we put on the outside of this post, so they were able to push against it and they just popped the U-shaped nails right out and they were able to escape. Luckily they were like 300 pounds at that time and they weren't real into physical activity, so it was pretty easy to lure them back in with some table scraps. The mud hole is really important, especially for these guys. The pigs we have this year are York duroc mixes, which I was hoping they would end up being red, but they were not. So they are very white with just a little bit of gray spots on their skin. But that makes them more susceptible to sunburn, and you'll probably be able to see that on the backs of their ears. It's not too terrible, but since we don't have a ton of shade out here, I try to keep the mud hole filled for them so they can mud bathe, and that's kind of a natural SPF for them. Whoa. This area, it's not super big. It definitely is big enough for 4 pigs for adult size, like 300-pound pigs to be comfortable. But my plan is we have this area back here, which we've got sunflowers planted there right now, but what I would like to do is expand their fence to go clear back here to the back of that horse barn over there. So that would be probably close to doubling their size that they have now. That plan is kind of on the back burner right now. We've got a couple other things that we would like to do, but that is on the to-do list. This is the watering system that we have. One of the big challenges with pigs is you can't just put a bucket of water in their pen. They will immediately just dump it over. Or if you have like a low tub, they'll just get inside of it and make it really nasty really quickly. So this was our solution. This is just a regular trash can. We got it at Rural King. So we have a bite valve style pig nipple here. You can buy those at TSC. And then we have 2 pieces of wood. The purpose of the wood is to allow us to adjust the height of the pig nipple. As they get bigger, we have to raise it up. But it also stabilizes it because pigs are extremely rough on stuff. So if we didn't have this piece of wood here to protect it, they would just move it up and down until our trash can broke. So we've got this. We have whatever these things are called to adjust it up and down. And then we just set the trash can on pavers and pieces of wood and bricks and whatever we can find to adjust it as they get bigger. So we've had these guys for a month. We've already had to adjust it once. But right now, it seems like it is about the right size. They aren't having to crouch down too bad. And then we have 2 pavers down here because otherwise they will turn this into a mud hole and they'll just keep wallering it out. So that kind of protects it. And they also seem to kind of like laying on it whenever it gets wet. So as far as how the trash can was put together, my husband put this together. And so if you have any questions about what something is called, leave it down in the comments and I will ask him. But I'm just going to show you what everything looks like. I do not know what any of these components are called. So it just connects like that into the trash can. And a really nice thing about doing the trash can method with the lid is it keeps the water clean. We haven't scrubbed this out a single time. We keep just topping it off, but as you can see, there really isn't much algae growing in there at all. There's a little bit floating on the top, but it's not terrible. But since this trash can is opaque, it doesn't really allow the algae to grow. It's just too dark in there, so that is helpful, and it keeps leaves and stuff from blowing in there as well. In late summer, when it's like 90 degrees all day, we will fill this up with cool water. It does get a little bit warm. It doesn't get like hot or anything, but it does seem like they drink more if the water is cooler. So we do try to top it off as often as we can. I think if we could find a white opaque trash can, that would probably be the best. A black one I think would get even hotter in the sun. So that might be one change that we make in the future, but for now the gray is okay. And over here we have our DIY feeder. As you can see, it is well loved as well. It is just a regular gravity fed feeder. We put a rock on the top to keep the lid from blowing off. As you can see, food just slides down. It is nice and deep, so you can hold probably, I don't know, 3-4 days worth of food in here. Yeah, it's been working really well. We do need to replace the weather stripping around here to keep moisture from dripping in. Like right there, it completely fell off, but overall it works okay. And then down here we just have some lids that the pigs are able to lift up and they get to the feed. This keeps everything dry and it keeps birds out of it, which they decided to play in their food this morning, so they're eating off the ground today. But and they'll chew on this and trash it, but they haven't done too much damage on it yet. Show them how it's done. Good job. And this feeder, they weren't big enough for it until about 3 days ago. But one of the best things about pigs is you don't have to train them on anything. They're so curious and they're so smart that by the next morning, they had already figured out how to open up those doors and get in there. So very easy. And it works really well for us. We'll probably eventually have to replace those boards, but so far so good. Same thing with the waterer, guys. We did not have to train them to use the waterer. All we did was the first day that we brought them home, since it was kind of hot that day, we didn't want them to get dehydrated. We just put a bowl of water right underneath the nipple, and by the next day they had figured out how to drink from the nipple already. So we didn't have to put molasses on it or anything. I've heard some other people doing that method to teach them to bite on it, but it wasn't necessary with these guys. And then as far as shelter goes, we've got two different types of shelters. Over here is just an old piece of plywood we threw out here just to form just a real simple lean-to. This way they get some airflow with some shade. The barn side over here does help to give them a little bit of shade, but not for the entire day. So they really like getting underneath there and laying. And then at night they sleep in their actual barn that we've got here. This was just from a free plan website that we got online. I will try to link that in the description box down below. This barn is the perfect size for 4. I think you could probably fit 5 adult-sized pigs in here that are about 300 pounds. We didn't have any issues with them not having enough space. What's nice about this plan is it's got these spaces up here to keep them nice and cool. Whenever the piglets first came, we filled this area up with straw. You can see they've kind of dirtied it up now, but it's warm enough. It's like 70 at night now, so we're not super worried about them getting cold as we were when we first got them. So they like burrowing in the straw, and now they just sleep in here at night when it's cool. Otherwise, they like to spend their days underneath the little lean-to. Just do a quick walk around the lean-to. It's got metal siding for the roof, and it's got a gap there along the back as well, so there's lots of airflow. Pigs do not tolerate heat very well, so it's important to have good airflow. And our last batch of pigs ripped off this little decorative piece here, so don't spend too much money trying to make it cute, guys, because they ruin it pretty quickly. It was cute when we first built it though. As far as what we feed them, we just go to our local co-op and we have them mix up just their basic pig ration. I think they add some, like, I think it's mostly soybeans and molasses and ground corn, and then they add some amino acids to it. When we first brought them home, we weren't super prepared for them because we had been looking for a while, but for some reason this year it was just hard to find feeder pigs in our area. And so we just ran to TSE and we just grabbed a 50-pound bag of their basic hog feed, and it is like pelleted form. And I tell you what, guys, they were not a fan. I don't know if it just was too bland for them or what, but they definitely like this this ground mix a lot better than that pelleted stuff you buy at the farm stores. Anytime we clean out the fridge or have, you know, stale or starting to get moldy bread, we go ahead and we toss it out here, and they love it. Sometimes I'll find random chicken nests from our free rangers, and since I don't know how long the eggs have been there, I don't really want to eat them myself, and so I go ahead and I'll crack those open and toss them in here, and they'll eat the whole thing, shell and all. Other than that, guys, that's really all that we do. Pigs are probably one of the easiest things to take care of. They just don't require a whole lot, especially when you have a gravity feeder like this where you could put a couple days worth of food in. Just check it to make sure that it is still okay, and make sure that their water doesn't need topped off, and really that's it. These guys are pretty low maintenance. Pigs, yes, you're very cute. Oh, don't bite. Fun fact, if you have kids, do warn them that pigs do bite. They don't have sharp teeth, they have very human-like teeth, but again, they're very curious, so they want to taste everything. Hey, buddy. They are very inquisitive, and they like to taste stuff, and it's pretty easy to get them used to, yeah. For fly control, one of my favorite things to use are these reusable canister fly traps. You can see this has been up for 2 weeks and it is full. It's so disgusting, but it works. Between the horses and the pigs, we have tons and tons of flies, don't we, guys? And so setting these up all over the place, it definitely helps. They have bag varieties where you just throw the bag away, but with these plastic containers, what's nice is you just dump them out and you replace them with these super cheap little bags of the smelly bait, and they work really well, don't they, guys? If you are building your pig pen, one consideration you're going to want to think about is how you're going to load them up. Our gate is right there. Ideally, it probably should have been down there, but we wanted to be close to where we store the feed, and we wanted it close to the water. Luckily, it is located in a spot where we're able to back our trailer up to the door. The first year when it was butchering time, we thought we would just back up the trailer, chase the pigs in, and be on our way, which was not the case. If a 300-pound pig does not want to go somewhere, it's very hard to convince them otherwise. What we do now is we'll go ahead and we'll open up the gate, we'll back the trailer up, and we just park it there for 2 or 3 days before our set butcher date. And what we'll do is we'll put up a ramp. We have a horse trailer is what we use. And we'll put up a ramp, and we will start feeding them in the trailer only. We'll take the feeder out of the pen, and we'll just put some pans inside the trailer, and that's the only place that we feed them for that entire time. So they get used to crawling up there, they associate it with something good, which is the food, and it's way less stressful for them. They're not afraid of going inside there. And then when butcher day comes around that morning, we'll just put something extra delicious inside there. I think one year I baked them a cake, so we put the cake in there. And of course, as they're in there eating, we will take a piece of plywood and we'll block off the entrance. We'll pull the horse trailer up to where we can shut the doors, and they're in, good to go. No chasing is required, no forcing them to go inside the trailer. They just go in on their own, and it's easier for everybody. One of the reasons why we homestead is because we want the animals to have a happy, stress-free life as naturally as possible. So yeah, guys, that is our hog setup. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye. Piggy. Piggy, no. Piggy, no. Stop. Stop. Come here. Look, come here. They are super rough on stuff, which they're actually destroying my camera stand here. Ow, don't bite.